Welcome to the Hamumu Halloween Home Horror Hoedown, the podcast where we watch scary movies so you don't have to.
From award-winning to completely unknown, we take them all way too seriously.
I'm your host, Mike Hummel.
And I'm your host, Solange Hummel.
Now, warning, we use a ghoulish number of spoilers, so watch the movies first.
Second warning, we don't know anything about anything, so don't take us seriously as we take these movies seriously.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the future again, but not your future, your past, my future. Well, not my future, the other me's future, the one that you're going to hear on this recording. And Soli, she's not here, but it's her future. Anyway, we're back with more of this roundup, so let's get right back into it with our first film.
The Unbinding from 2023. Did it keep the high standards going?
No. The Unbinding is our first, and I believe only, not found footage film here. Only it is kind of a found footage film because it's a documentary. A real documentary.
Oh.
Sort of.
What does that mean?
It means it's, I'm trying not to swear, nonsense. It is garbage. It's this couple, the Newkirks, who run like a museum of the paranormal. It's like a traveling exhibit around the country, real people. And their thing is they collect haunted items, you know, that people send in to them and are like, oh, this doll in my house is haunted. Here, take it. And they take it and they supposedly, you know, scan it and make sure it's not too dangerous or whatever. And then they have it in their display so you can see it and be like, this was the doll that was haunted at that one house. This is the story of a certain specific haunted doll. Well, not doll, but like ancient statue that was found in the woods somewhere that they are dealing with. And all the weird, scary things that go on with it. The very real, very terrifying things that happen when they have this doll in their possession. Mm-hmm. The evidence they present of this, it's not that there's no evidence. It's quite the opposite. There's very real evidence of very supernatural things happening, which means...
Very real evidence?
Yes. It means they are fully lying. This whole thing is a hoax. And they're trying to scam gullible people and get them to come to their, you know, little show. This is like an ad for them. It's infuriating to think that this is preying on gullible people and terrible. And I give it 0 peanut butter cups out of 5 as a result. This is a crime against humanity. And then, okay, just a specific fun part. They're doing a 3D scan of the doll, which is like a wooden statue, and it has a bunch of nails jammed in its eyes. Which, by the way, at one point in the movie, they go, these aren't old nails. We've discovered they had been bought at Walmart. Spooky.
Okay.
They do the scan, and the guy doing the scan says, oh my gosh, it's not, the nails don't show up on the scan. Which, of course, again, just like the facial tech thing, doesn't make any sense. You know, light bouncing off of things, the nails would show up.
Uh-huh. They're ghost nails.
And... during one of the shots from that scene, you can see the screen on his computer and you can see that the nails are there, that his scanner is picking up the nails. So there's that. But then also later he says, we had to digitally remove the nails. They were too thin to 3D print because they scanned it in order to make a 3D print of it. So
the nails don't show up because they removed them.
Yeah. So the nails were there and they removed them. And they're admitting it because they forgot what they said 2 minutes earlier in the movie.
That's dumb. You know what? It's bad enough if you're a creepy snake oil salesman, scammer, garbage person. Mm-hmm. But then at least keep your freaking lies straight.
I agree.
Be good at it.
And actually, in my notes, I realized, oh, wait. I forgot one of their big scary events, like a major thing, happened at Paracon, which is a paranormal conference, in front of dozens and dozens of people. There are no interviews with any of them. There's no video footage of this happening. There's just reenactments. That's impossible, friends. Mm-hmm. This didn't happen at all. Anyway, I wasn't decided on a 0 until I looked on IMDb and saw a bunch of 10 out of 10 reviews saying, this is crazy stuff. This really happened. I can't believe it. That's what makes me give it a 0. These people are exploiting gullible people, and they're terrible, and I hate them.
It's sad that there are so many people who have to be protected essentially from themselves.
Yes.
Because, like, if someone is telling you obvious lies, things that you can physically, with your own eyeballs, see are lies,
Yeah.
but you choose to believe them anyway, we're not really protecting you from them. We're protecting you from you and your inability to protect yourself.
Yeah.
That's sad. Okay. So moving on from the garbage people who get a 0.
Mm-hmm. To classy people who made Split Screen from 2023.
Classy is good.
Oh, I was just saying that. There's nothing classy going on here.
Well, what is Split Screen about?
Well, I wanted to watch it because it said in the description that I don't know if it said it was presented in a split screen format, but it sounded like, because it's called Split Screen, this is an anthology, but with only 2 movies. And I thought they were going to actually be played together at the same time. And I was like, how is that going to work?
That would be interesting, though.
Yeah, but how? I don't know.
Oh, that would take some very complex writing. But if you had 2 separate stories that somehow connected they happen to crossovers.
They'd have to cross over.
You have occasional crossovers throughout. That would be interesting, and I want to see that. Somebody make that.
Well, don't call it Split Screen because that's already been done, and it is not a split screen movie. It's just it's a hacker who's found these secret files, and he's going to share them with us so that the truth gets out. And he plays one movie, and then he plays the other movie, and then he talks about a little bit more at the end.
Do the movies have split screens in them?
No.
Okay.
Movie number 1 is called Project Grays, and it is about aliens attacking people. Movie number 2 is a serial killer story, The Illinois Valley Murder Tapes. So what this is that they had made movies that were too short, and so they put them together into this movie.
But they did it by finding a connecting thread that had nothing to do with either of the movies.
Yeah, there is no connection. It's just these are both secret files that the government doesn't want us to see.
And then they named it Split Screen.
Yeah, I don't know why they named it Split Screen.
I feel actively angry right now about that.
More so than the people who were exploiting.
Well, perhaps because I was angry about them, so I was already there, but that's stupid and annoying. Okay.
Yeah. In the Project Grays film, I have a big question about, in the background of one shot, there's a Let's Go Brandon sticker.
Oh, no.
And my question was that prop work to show us the character? Or did this director just film this in his own house and that's what's in there? Because it was pretty upsetting.
Or was somebody being clever and getting that in there, product placement kind of nonsense?
Yeah. Whatever. It was very concerning. This is about gray aliens that come and attack you, except they're just people in pajamas, and it's hilarious. So the end of this is the goofiest found footage ever because it's hard to describe, but it's like an action scene with guns and stuff. And you know how good found footage actors are. So
delightful.
They're not selling it.
Uh-huh.
And there's a guy who shows up who's supposed to be tough, and he sounds so ridiculous. It's just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So there's that. Oh, and the whole experience up to that it's effectively a haunted house. Like, this guy is running from room to room in his house, and aliens pop out. And they do it like a haunted house. Like, they pop out and kind of move towards him, and then he runs away, and he's fine.
But it's in the contract that they're not allowed to actually touch him.
It's very clear that they're not allowed to touch him, because if they were, they would definitely get him. Like, he'll look at one and then turn around, and it's as if it's gone forever. Anyway, the second thing is a serial killer thing. It's incredibly boring. It has a fun twist to it, which is executed terribly, like really badly. And so this is just all terrible.
That's sad.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
What is your score for this delightful anthology?
Because it was fun to see their pajama-clad aliens, and because it contained a fun twist, I'm giving it a whopping 1.5 peanut butter cups out of 5. It was terrible.
So next comes Ghost Webcam from 2023, and I feel like just from the title,
yeah,
I have some ideas,
Yeah.
but the title in the last one was very misleading. So is this one actually about a ghost who has a webcam?
Yeah, kind of. I think kind of. It's actually a little confusing what it's about, but that's the gist of it. And it's a guy who's under house arrest. So he wants to go on a date, but obviously can't leave his house. So he goes on a webcam date with this girl. And
Does
then
she know he's under house arrest?
they discuss it and he shows her his ankle.
Ugh.
It's kind of weird. I want to just highlight something that I've already mentioned several times. So this is like a standard of bad found footage. These people see someone potentially killed by a ghost in front of them. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they're like, oh no, what happened? And then within 30 seconds, they've gone to, so anyway, how's your case going? You know, talking to the house arrest guy about whether he's going to, you know, get out from house arrest and whatnot. And they just start discussing it. Like, what?
Do you think that also is part of the, like, growing up in the Zoom generation and growing up in this, like, online technology where you're so used to seeing things that happen in front of you that are horrific, but that aren't real? So then you become desensitized to it in a way?
I don't know. I feel like it's just bad acting, but maybe.
I mean, my question is, why do these people not understand how someone would react to someone being murdered in front of them?
You'd think. I don't know. I mean, that's an interesting theory, a little social commentary.
It's such the exact opposite of every 80s and 90s horror movie.
Yeah, where they scream and fall down.
Yes, everything that happens involves people having huge emotions that are way bigger and more out of control than they would be. And then now we've got these people who, like, don't have any emotions at all.
It makes me think of the beginning of every Law and Order where, you know, they find the corpse and instead of going, oh my, there's a corpse here, that's really upsetting, they always scream and fall over.
There's either a blood-curdling shriek or sometimes they even throw up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So she sees someone murdered in front of her.
There's a bunch of people on this call at one point. They collect people on the call. It's a whole thing.
Group date? What is happening?
Well, as things happen that are weird, they're like, oh, we have to call this person and add them onto the call. And at one point they talk to like the sheriff, I think it is, or somebody. And he's like, what's I think their system is called Call Connect or something. And he's like, well, I don't even know what Call Connect is. And they're like, well, we got to get you on. And he's like trying to explain the technology to the old man.
I feel like your date is not going well if you have to invite the sheriff.
Well, I mean, there's ghosts and murder and mayhem. So, of course. There's also, speaking of sheriffs, there's a little bit of ACAB going on in this movie about a guy on house arrest, which is kind of fun. And it has a twist ending to it, but it doesn't resolve the twist, is all I can really say. And that's annoying.
Are they setting it up for Ghost Webcam 2?
I don't think so. I think they just didn't know what they were doing.
Okay.
It's pretty dumb. But I did note that it was cheesy but fun, like a campfire ghost story. Basically, the people were like bubbly and, you know, very like cheesy rather than dour like they are in most of these movies. So it was kind of perky to watch. And of course, like a campfire ghost story, it was like, ooh, look at this spooky thing, and which wasn't really scary. It was just supernatural. So, silly movie. It's another 1.5 peanut butter cups out of 5. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I hate to do all this.
It feels like you were fairly consistent with the kind of movie you chose.
Yeah.
I also feel like your choices and the scores you have given them are really vindicating my feelings about found footage movies.
I mean, these are not just found footage movies. They're trash found footage movies, which is a whole tier below.
There's no other kind.
That's not true. There are some great found footage movies. I mean, they're not quality, but they're great.
Okay, so Ghost Webcam wasn't one of them.
No.
Was Paranormal Prison from 2021 any better? I feel like 2021 makes me think very specific things about the kinds of movies that were being made. And I actually was going to ask, because a lot of these movies have been in like the 2021, 22, 23.
Yeah, they're all pretty current.
Like, how many of these movies have been struggling with, wrestling with, or even just including the idea of COVID.
I'm pretty sure there's one that mentions it. In fact, I think it's the next one after this.
So they're not like, we're not getting a bunch of on Zoom or on some kind of live stream, whatever, internet thing, because these characters are unable to leave their homes.
Yeah, I mean, like Ghost Webcam, for example, they had to come up with this, he's under house arrest to get him to not leave his home. So I guess they're over COVID.
So to be honest, I'm actually super fascinated by that because, you know, we were watching horror movies during COVID.
Speaking of great found footage, Host.
Okay. Yeah, that one was good. But like we were watching horror movies during COVID that were like because of COVID, right? Like everyone in the movie was locked down because they couldn't leave. That was part of the story was, you know, we couldn't save your friend or you couldn't whatever. I think it is so interesting that we have now moved past those stories. Like we're not telling lockdown stories anymore, but we still have the idea that we have now become so comfortable with online technology and online presence and online existence that that's just the way, you know, it's not, I have my little handheld camera or my iPhone and I'm running around in the woods to make a found footage film. It's someone finds all of the footage that I have of recording my everyday life because that's where I live my life now is on film.
Yeah.
I think that's fascinating. Okay.
It's, this young generation.
Paranormal prison. What happens?
This is in the classic ghost hunters genre. So they're going to a haunted prison to, you know, find the ghosts. And I will note that this one was much higher quality than all the ones before it. Like, just in terms of technical presentation and all that. I have a note on this movie that I wrote right at the beginning that makes me really smart, but I can't tell you about it because it's a spoiler. But I caught the twist within 2 seconds.
That's fun, but also kind of sad for the movie.
I mean, it's not a great movie. One of the things about it is these incredibly unnecessary flashbacks where like it would flash back to a conversation from 5 minutes before to make sure you don't misunderstand why something is happening. And it also contains these jump scares, which are, instead of like something actually jumping out, it's just you're looking at whatever, like a room in the prison, and they flash a photo of the ghost lady on top of the screen and make a noise. Like, what?
That's
why?
dumb.
Why?
I hate that.
And it's implied that this is something actually happening. Like maybe it's like getting into their film footage or something. I don't know, but it just is what it is. I don't know. So this goes into my favorite genre in the world of there's a ghost and we have to figure out how to appease the ghost or what it wants and that kind of thing. And so that was fun. There was a good bit with that, but the exposition was so ham-fisted and it just whatever. And there was a super cheesy ending. So it's all just really dumb. This is like a Saturday afternoon special.
Okay.
About a paranormal prison.
So what would you rate this Saturday afternoon special?
I think I'll go all the way up to 2 peanut butter cups out of 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I wasn't expecting that, actually.
I don't know why, but I'm tired of doing 1.5s.
Okay. So then you moved on to one that I
totally watched.
I don't know that I would say I totally watched it, but I was in the room and I do remember parts of it. The Death of April.
From 2022.
And that is about a girl named Megan who moves...
Yeah, named Megan, not April.
Not April. She moves from California to somewhere. Where did she move to?
The East Coast. I think that might even be the only way they just ever described it.
Okay. And her family is really upset.
Yeah.
That's mostly what I remember.
We had a lot of weird theories, like that her family was a cult trying to keep her from leaving and all kinds of things. They seemed needlessly attached. This movie, I noted, had the best acting of any of the movies we've seen so far, which is not saying a lot, but it was a breath of fresh air.
It did feel more like a real movie than some of them.
Yeah.
Although it didn't, like... I don't know. The found footage aspect of it is always so detrimental to it feeling like a real movie because everyone is like very stiltedly talking directly at the camera, and that everyone gets weird then.
Yeah, and this one was done like in a documentary style, so they like had interviews with her parents and stuff, and that added some tension where they were like, her parents were talking, and it was like, is she dead at this point? Like, what's going on? And I had a theory, and it turned out to be, well, halfway right. So it's interesting. There's kind of some mystery to that.
I do feel like those talking head pieces were part of what made me think there was going to be more to the story than there actually was, because they were being so weird and unnatural in those interviews that I'm like, are they making these things happen to her in order to force her to move home? Like, what is going on? And I really think it was just that the acting wasn't great.
But still better than those other movies.
Still better. Well, right. It's a low bar.
The thing I really liked about this movie is that it's a ripoff of Paranormal Activity. So, it's about looking at the screen and seeing what's moving in the background, which is my favorite activity. So that was fun. Ultimately, it didn't really go anywhere much.
Not really. There wasn't a lot of closure. The title does make sense by the end of the movie.
Yes, at least we know that makes sense.
How would you rate The Death of April?
I'm going to go nuts with this one and give it 2.5 peanut butter cups out of 5.
Oh my gosh. You liked this one so much. This was your favorite movie.
Yeah, favorite of all time, 2.5. Do you have the ability to rate this movie?
I don't think it would be fair to rate it. I wasn't watching in that way. It was more that I was not watching, and then sometimes something would happen and I would be annoyed by it. And so I would have to shout at the screen. Yeah,
we did some of that. Would you feel better rating The House in Sherwood from 2020, a Richard Mansfield film?
You'll have to remind me what it was.
This was a movie about a psychic lady going into a house and she's going to stay there for a few days and try to determine what the spirits are up to and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But she also works as a fortune teller, and there's another lady to whom she gave some bad financial advice as a result. And that lady is really out to get her. So this movie consists of her being in the haunted house and the other lady sneaking into the haunted house and messing with her.
Yes.
Which is a very fun idea.
The premise of it is, I don't want to say it was, because it was a little more than what it starts as, and I don't want to spoil how it ends and everything. But the premise of it is Scammer, the
scammy,
socially inappropriate, creepy person, right? It's two kinds of bad people in society, and they are going at each other, or they're interacting with each other. And there was a part of me that was watching this and was like, yeah, get it, go for it. You guys take each other out and the rest of us will be better off.
Yeah. Yeah. Because as we talked about The Unbinding, obviously I don't like people getting scammed. And so I'm inclined to support this woman who's messing with her, but I can't, because she's like a mustache twirling psycho villain. She horrible.
Okay. The lady on TikTok who always is the princesses, and she has a Disney face where and I mean that Jim Carrey kind of her face is so elastic that when she talks, it's like it's a cartoon character talking. Yeah. And she the lady on TikTok takes advantage of that and plays Disney characters, right?
So does this lady.
This lady was a Disney villain for sure. And
she totally looked like it.
Her mouth just moves like it's animated on a cartoon instead of real life. It was so interesting.
She was chewing up the scenery.
She was. The idea of her getting even with someone who scammed her, yes, I was on board with that, but she so immediately became that wasn't what was going on, and she's just a mentally disturbed person who was horrible, actively stalking and committing crimes against another human being. Yeah. And I was like, oh girl, you need help, and none of this is good, and I'm very uncomfortable.
Well, and another part of it was that the way she was messing with her, some of the things she was doing anyway, were such dumb ideas. Like, she would write her these like ransom note letters that are like, you're a fraud, and slip them under the door. And she was so like cheerfully gleeful about how she was getting her with this. And I'm like, that's stupid. That's dumb.
I feel like that's part of what made me feel like I couldn't, like, it made me very uncomfortable, because it wasn't a character doing something movie-like. It was, oh, this is the kind of thinking actual people in the world have if they are, you know, struggling with mental health, and they're like not all together connected to reality. It's the bad things that people do when they are having mental health episodes. Yeah. That I was like, oh no, this is bad.
Yeah.
And it was fun, though, that it twisted it around, where at first we were like, ugh, this person is a scammer. And then I was like, oh no, she's going to get murdered by someone who's sneaking into her house.
Yeah.
And, I did love when we were seeing both of their stories, because they were both on live stream, like Facebook living and whatever medium they were using.
I just want to say that's part of what was bad about the evil woman, was that she's live streaming this and going, hee, look what I'm doing. And what she's doing is terrible. Like, who's watching this stream?
Okay, but here's the thing. I don't think anyone was watching her stream.
Probably.
I think that was part of what was interesting to me, is the scammer lady, the lady who, you know, is the psychic. What annoyed me about her is that she was live streaming on her phone and recording for YouTube at the same time, simultaneously, all the time.
Yeah.
So they would like flip back and forth between the two shots, which was interesting, except it meant that if you were only watching on YouTube, say, half the time she's not even looking at you. She's looking off screen because she's looking at her phone. And if you were watching the live stream, half the time she's not even looking at you because she's looking at the YouTube camera. Like, I was annoyed by the reality of it in a way that I probably shouldn't have been. But she was popular. She had fans. She had people making comments. Like, she was a content creator who had an audience. And I think this other lady wanted that part of her life. Mm-hmm. And it's like when you scroll through TikTok, and like every once in a while you come to someone who's just like in their home and they have no followers and they have like, it's just zeros all down the side.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, this is just a person who really wants attention. I mean, they all are, but like, this is a person
this one's failing
who
at it.
really wants attention, and no one is paying attention. It's extra sad.
Yeah. I think the saddest thing is that through all these reviews, we've discovered that you are obsessed with TikTok.
Oh my God.
I mean, you keep bringing it up. You're speechless.
I can't even with you right now.
I didn't bring it up.
I only watch TikTok because you send me TikTok videos.
Yeah, but I have to send you the good ones. Ugh. Like when there's tigers playing with pumpkins.
That is cute.
This movie was actually split screen.
It was. And I really, really liked that piece of it, and how like you could see what was going on both sides, and how like the near misses were, how near they were. And it was fun. This is another one that could be fuel for the niche tea lady.
Sure.
You could totally see at the end of this whole movie that then the niche tea lady, I should probably know her name, but that's all I know her as, that she does a rundown of it and then like is like, and so-and-so is dead and the other one is in prison and, whatever, or, found mentally incompetent. I'm saying this is beyond what the movie shows, but like that would be a fun ending.
Yeah, that could be over the credits. That'd be fun. Mm-hmm. Because it's beef that these two YouTubers have.
Yes.
Which is definitely her area.
So what are you scoring The House in Sherwood?
The problem is 3 is like a real movie that's passable. But I do think this is better than The Death of April. This was kind of fun. I'll go ahead and give it 3 peanut butter cups out of 5.
That's so interesting because I was also going to give it 3 out of 5. I felt like, you know what? It's really the split screen piece of it. And the fact that they twisted the characters in a way that made them not who you thought they were at the beginning. I actually enjoyed watching this movie.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun. It gets kind of dumb and weird, but it's fun. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. So that brings us to the final horror film of this marathon.
Aptly titled
The Last Amityville Movie.
From 2023. I wanted to wrap this up. I don't even know how I came across this, but when I was searching Tubi, I saw this. Wanted to wrap it up with the perfect finishing film. And The Last Amityville Movie is a movie by an actual YouTube movie critic. I don't know his name. I think his channel might be called Movie Timelines. I keep meaning to check it out, and I haven't. So he's finally making his own horror movie, that's kind of fun. And of course, it's found footage. And the premise, I like the premise because there are dozens and dozens of movies that have the word Amityville in their title based on the real quote unquote haunted house from the 70s, the Amityville house. Everybody wants to, take advantage of that name. And so they make just totally unrelated movies with the word Amityville in the title. And so the premise of this movie is that the actual Amityville house is cursed. And I can't go into detail about it because that's the plot of this movie. But basically, this is going to be the last Amityville movie in which he receives a cursed piece of the house, and now he's cursed. And he has to face all kinds of found footage, paranormal activity shenanigans, which is fun. And it's a comedy with a ton of inside baseball about these kind of found footage movies. And so it's just, it's a guy who does this kind of thing, having fun with the ideas. And what I like about it is that it's really clever. The plot actually makes sense and has a lot of elements that interact, and it comes together into a story, which doesn't even apply to the best of the previous ones, really. Like, this is well written. Like, this is a legitimate story. And it was just enjoyable and amusing.
It's not only a legitimate story, it's clever.
Yeah.
In a few different ways that make it really fun and interesting to watch. It is bad in the sense that, it's like Bad Ben, where all the special effects are terrible.
The special effects are really bad. But they're supposed to be.
Exactly. It's done. It again is sort of like Bad Ben in the sense that I think the vibe was, we don't have the budget to make good special effects. So we're going to lean into the bad special effects and make that part of the fun.
Yeah.
Like, we're just going to make it ridiculous in that sense. And I really, that worked with this in the same way that it worked in some of those very early Bad Ben movies where you're like, This is insane, but he knows it's insane. And he's just like, you know what? I'm going to tell you this story. You have to pretend you're seeing the things that I'm pretending I'm seeing, and then we can all see the story. And it works sometimes.
Yeah, I think it was very enjoyable. And it was ironic that this guy, the movie critic, is a better actor than almost everyone I saw in all 15 of these movies. And he's just doing dumb stuff, but he's doing it like a human being instead of a robot. And what also was fun was that he would use his knowledge of horror movies to argue with the demons infesting his house. And he'd be like, do you really think that the sound of a crying baby is going to make me come up there? I know there's not a baby up there, so it's just going to be scary. It's funny.
I did like that so many of the things that would have sent someone else screaming out of the room in a traditional horror movie, he was like so jaded by them. He's like, ugh. He's like, oh, creepy hands. You're going to have to come into the room. I'm not getting out of bed. And then the head pops around the edge and he's like, oh, you took that seriously. Okay. Yes, the very sarcastic, dry humor approach to dealing with scary monsters was fun.
Yes. This was just
and relatable.
Fun. It was a very silly movie and fun and enjoyable.
Yes. I liked the dry humor part because sometimes you get that in characters, but it's because they don't believe what's happening.
Yeah.
And so they're like being sarcastic about it because they don't think anything is actually going to hurt them. And this guy was like, I know there's a demon in my house. I'm just going to be sassy at it, which was funny. I also liked, and I don't know who these other, like he has a group that he hangs out with. Yeah. And I think it's probably an actual group of people that he hangs out with as his real
that's what I think too. This was a movie that was about COVID. He was hanging out with them, only it was COVID-2. It's a new plague that's starting this year.
That was much worse than COVID-19. Yes. Yeah, so I think that this was a group of people he like really, these are his real online friends who he brought into the movie, and they all got to have their little moment of silliness. Yeah. And that also, it was endearing to me. And because it felt like it was tied into COVID, and I don't know if he actually, what year was it from?
2023.
See, I don't know if he actually made it during COVID or if it was just like, I'm building this story based on my experiences in COVID. But it was very relatable, and it was very kind of endearing that it was that like homegrown, we're trying to maintain connection and relationships and whatever. And he's also dealing with his wife and daughter being away, and he can't join them and whatever, because of this plague thing. And that was all relatable real life scaries.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. How would you rate the last Amityville movie?
I would also give this one 3 peanut butter cups out of 5. And it maybe even deserves a little bit more, but like, it's not a great movie. Like it's not a classic, but it was a good, fun watch, and it had some clever things to it, and it made me laugh several times. And like, I don't know if I was scared, but there were a couple, like, it was that Paranormal Activity thing where there was stuff going on in the background, and so you had to watch really closely. Yeah. And you'd be like, oh, I saw it.
One of my favorite things.
Yeah. That's good fun.
Which is why I will give it 3.5 peanut butter cups out of 5 as the greatest film of the entire collection.
Yes. It was fun to end on a high note like that.
Yeah, I did not expect it to be a high note, so I was glad to really have a fun wrap up.
Yeah, I think that is part of the, like, what's really special about this movie is it looks like it's going to be terrible at the beginning. Yeah. And then it just keeps overachieving from what you would expect, which is great.
Yeah. So that is a roundup of 15 films I watched during the week leading up to Halloween. I watched like 4 or 5 of them on Halloween.
And if you want to watch this same collection of movies, or
in the same order,
or if any of them sound interesting to you, you can find them on Tubi for free.
Yes. Everybody loves Tubi.
Pay us money, Tubi.
Or don't. I don't even care. Yeah, so we'll see you next week with more exciting films.
We'll be back to normal, reviewing 1 movie at a time.
1 to 2.
Okay,
bye, everybody.
So I hear that the first movie you watched is #missing. Should I not do that?
Where did you hear this? Who told you?
A little bat told me. Bat? Anyway,